have a great lineup for you today. And first and foremost, I really want to thank our hosts here at Google. This is a gorgeous venue and space. It is our first time here. We have done these Google events many times for several years, but never physically here in this location. This is actually a brand new building to Google. I think they've only been in here for a very short period of time, and beautiful view, and so thank you very much to Google, our hosts here, and you'll hear from some of the Googlers shortly as well on the fireside chat. So just to give you a rundown of what today will look like, we will kick things off with a great keynote speaker, and then we will move into the fireside chat. And we have people who are representing different areas of the digital ecosystem, if you will. So it's really going to be an omni-channel presentation and session, and a lot of interactivity, and then we'll open it up for questions at the end. Our theme and our focus, which is very timely given that we are rolling right into December this weekend, the theme and focus will be on 2019, what's next, what's hot with Google. We want you to be thinking forward-minded in terms of digital marketing, in terms of the landscape. Much of what we'll talk about, maybe you're already doing, maybe you've considered, maybe you've thought about. Some of what we're going to discuss is very long-term, and you may say, wow, that's not even on my radar for right now. We can't do that. But we want you to be thinking about it. If you aren't aware of it, if you can't start thinking about it today, you can't plan for it for tomorrow. And that's really our goal right now before the end of the year, particularly as budgets and planning and digital strategy are all lots of fun stuff over the next couple of weeks or the next month. We want to make sure that you're really ready and prepared for what Google's going to be rolling out. Some of which are in beta mode, which is always really exciting for MoreVisibility as a Google Premier partner. Because of this wonderful relationship that we have with Google, we're able to really bring our clients best of breed and really first-class beta opportunities in advertising, which is a tremendous competitive edge for all of you, because all of your competitors won't be in that beta. You're able to then test out these advertising opportunities at the forefront and really pioneer to understand the return on ad spend that it will have for you, so that when Google opens it up to the general advertising marketplace, you already have an edge, competitive edge albeit, in terms of how it's going to work best for you. And that's where MoreVisibility, for those of you who are currently working with us, and hopefully many of you will be working with us in the future, that's where we really bring our value add to the table in terms of helping facilitate that partnership to get you these competitive edges within your digital advertising ecosystem. So the restrooms are out and to the left if you haven't already visited, and check out the lovely view if you haven't seen it already. We will start off with our keynote speaker, move into the fireside chat, questions and answers, and then we will have cocktails and hors d'oeuvres, and would love to continue the great networking that we just started before the event. And please come see me if I haven't met you before. And so with that, I am very excited to introduce our keynote speaker, Miss Regina Capio-Wilson, who has been with Google forever and ever, and brings to us a tremendous amount of insight and knowledge from the Google ecosystem. And with that, Regina, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you. So as Danielle said, Regina Capio-Wilson. I have been with Google a very long time. It'll be 11 years in March. And prior to that, I worked at an agency and did strategy planning for P&G. So I like to say that I've worked at or with agencies my entire career. And I think it's a great place to be, honestly, because the agencies have a wealth of knowledge. And that's our goal today, is to share some of that wealth of knowledge and get you thinking about the future. So we want to talk about what's hot today and beyond. And I want us to all kind of reflect on what a wonderful place we're at right now, and being on the forefront of change, and what an exciting place that is to be in. And I think being in marketing and being in digital marketing, or even thinking about digital marketing, you really can't deny that pace of change. And that pace is getting faster and faster and faster. So I want you to all venture a guess. We're using the, benchmark of 50 million users. When we look at some more traditional outlets, how many years do you think it took automobiles to have 50 million users? Shout it out. 100? 100 years. Any other guesses? 20, I heard, very quietly. Somewhere in between. Not far off, 62 years. So, and there's reasons behind this, right? It was very expensive. It was very exclusive. It was hard to come by. But when we look at some of these things, it took a long time to get 50 million users there. When we look at more digital outlets, that time becomes shorter and shorter. So I like calling out the internet, which only took 7 years to get to 50 million users, because the internet kind of drove the rest of these. And you just see, again, this time getting shorter and shorter to 50 million users. So much so that it only took Pokemon Go 19 days. Is Pokemon Go the most important thing that's come out in the last, I don't know, 100 years? Probably not, but it certainly might have been the fastest to get this broad adoption. So I share this just to illustrate how fast things are moving. But also, it's that idea of digital, it's the idea of the internet that's making this go so much faster. It took a while to get 50 million users to own a car or use a car because it was expensive. It was hard to come by. And now the internet is making things less expensive. Technology is making everything accessible, whether you're in Delhi, India, or whether you're in New York City. And this has forever changed the world. I think this picture of these two kids is not an exaggeration. I have a little boy at home, he's a year and a half, and he knows that the side button on my phone turns the screen on. He knows to scroll up. And my husband looks at him and he says, how does he know that? How does he know the side button? It's so small. I was like, because he's literally growing up with this. We have a whole generation of people who are native digital adopters. I'm not talking about a 2-year-old or a 7-year-old. These are 15-year-olds, 20-year-olds who grew up with personal computers and maybe grew up with their own cell phone. And this is not like, oh, the future of these kids with their devices. This is actual money spenders here and today. And that mobile device really has changed everything. I think we think back to where our computer space used to be. In my house, we had our computer station set up in the basement. It was like a little desk on the side. I would use it when I needed it, and then went back to my other desk to do my homework. That is not the case anymore. Everyone, instead of having a desktop somewhere in their basement or in their den, everyone's got a supercomputer in their pocket. And you're not using this occasionally and then going back to what you're doing. You're using the supercomputer constantly. And it's not like a one session. It is a constant session that we have this connectivity with us. And I mentioned the word connectivity specifically because something that we think about a lot and work on a lot here at Google is getting the next billion users online. Those billion users are coming from underdeveloped countries like India, like countries in Africa. And those users are mobile only, mobile first and mobile only. So this idea of planning for mobile first becomes even more important. Maybe you're not launching in India necessarily, but really think about where those new users are coming and how are you going to capture them. Chances are they're looking at their mobile devices first. A little more participation from the group. Please raise your hand if you have a laptop or desktop at home. Keep your hands up and raise a second hand if you also have a smartphone or e-reader. Now stand up and keep your hands up. Come on, we're playing along. Stand up if you have all of these things and a smartwatch or a tablet. Thank you all for participating. Now you can put all your body parts down. There are so many devices for everyone. You know, I could go on and on and on. How many digital devices do you own? And a study from 2017 said that there were 8 billion devices, connected devices in the world. There were only 7 billion people in the world at the same time. And then you think of those underdeveloped countries where there's no device for whole villages. So how many multiple devices does one person have? This projection 3-year projection goes to 20 billion devices in 2020. And again, thinking about those billion users on those next billion users, there's going to be an influx of connected devices. And this connectivity, again, is constant. So we're able to look that thing up, and then we're able to continue with our lives, and then we're able to do that research, and then continue with our shopping. I'm able to look up that recipe and then buy the thing in the store. And it's this constant access. And the user's in control. How are we spending our time with this connectivity? An eMarketer survey looked at time spent online, 5.8 hours on digital, and 6.5 hours on other media, so TV, print, radio. This isn't a huge indifference, right? Digital was catching up to traditional. Flip ahead 2 years, 3 years, this is flip-flopped. This is the projection for next year, 6.9 hours on digital and 5.9 on traditional. And again, I think if we take our marketer hats off, I gotta be honest, I went to an agency recently and thought I was gonna make a real point. And I said, how many of you still have a cable subscription? Thinking that a couple of them would. Here's my point. It's a 50-50 split, Me and one other person raised our hands. No one else. We were in a room of 15 people. We were the only two schmoes who had a cable subscription left. And I was like, oh, well, this is the tipping point. And I think oftentimes we're like, oh no, as marketers, we know this, that, the other thing. But just think of your own consumption habits and think of where you're spending time with media. And then think about where your users are, where your most valuable customers are. And that's what I want us to focus on, is this idea of the user. Who's your customer? Who's your client? And one of our unofficial mottos at Google is focus on the user and all else will follow. And that we hold this to be true because that's what's important. If you are pleasing that user, if you are pleasing that customer, if you're providing value in their lives, they will be there again and again. And by focusing on them first, you're going to be so much more successful than just focusing on your product or just focusing on your pricing. You can uncover so much more. So what can we do today that's going to put us in a good place for tomorrow? And as Danielle said, what do we have to start thinking about today so that we can actually plan for it tomorrow? And we're living in this age of assistance, this idea that I want my technology to help me. I want it to make my life easier. And if you can do those things, you're going to prove your brand to your user. So someone might be researching your product. Might be a gentleman who's wishing he weren't waiting for the bus and was instead grabbing one of these bikes. So he's sitting there, this is his opportunity to do a little research. Maybe he's being exposed to a video ad for the first time based on the product you offer. Pretend you make bikes. He's watching some video content on bikes and sees your ad because it's been contextually targeted to his research. Or maybe he's reading reviews. Remember, we're not just spending time searching on our phone. We're doing a lot of reading and consumption. We're either watching or reading or sharing. So how do you play into that? How are you making sure that your website is easily readable on a mobile device or easily shareable? Or maybe this person's trying to find your store. I'm in the moment, I want it now. Where can I find you? Where can I buy it? And again, these are 3 very real examples of helping someone convert sooner or helping them along the way on their journey and their decision making. And while I assume not all of you sell bikes, I think you can all kind of put a lens on this as to what your offering is for your customers today. So thinking about this age of assistance, how as marketers can you be adding value? Be there, be present during this journey and this discovery. Make sure that you're helping them along the way. Be valuable. You want to be additive. You want to be helpful. and you want to be quick, because man, are we impatient. More impatient than ever. So it's important to use all of the information you can as quickly as possible. So we can unpack each of these a little bit. Being there. Where is there? And if we knew, it would be so easy. But you kind of got to be there everywhere. And the idea of focusing on that user, not really caring about whether they're watching a video or whether they're looking up reviews or whether they're looking on the map, you're targeting that user because you know that they're in the mindset or they're in the market or they're looking to convert one way or another. So you're targeting them wherever they may be, whether that's seeing a subway ad on their way to work, whether that's seeing an in-stream video through content that they're viewing, but really connecting regardless of what moment they're in. You need to be nimble to them. I really like this. When it was the year of mobile for like 5 years, you guys remember that? Yeah? We talked a lot about near me searches. So stores near me, doctors near me. It was this indicator of like a local intent. We have now, so that near me search volume was like skyrocketing. We're seeing it kind of balance out, where local searches have near me in them just as often as not including near me. Because my phone better know that I want a store near me. I want to pick this up on my way home. So thank you, Google Maps. Well, Queens might be closer the way the bird flies. I'm not swinging through Queens on my way home. So that is not convenient. I don't want to search near me. Like, figure this out. So this is the demanding user. This is, I want you to be there where I am. I don't want to tell you my ride home. I want you to know my regular route. So this idea that we think that our technology should know us so well that we shouldn't have to fill this in anymore. What has increased is searches for me. So 60% growth in queries that include this over the last 2 years. Insurance for me, doctor recommendations for me, the ideal pet for me, which is crazy. Like, these are so personal. But the idea that, like, my phone should know what insurance is most appropriate for me. And like, you unpack that logically, I'm sure psychologists are probably having as much fun with the digital age as like marketers are. But like, why should your phone know that about you? Well, I tell my phone everything. My phone knows everything. So my phone should know that I have a husband. My phone should know that I have a 1.5-year-old son. My phone should know that I live in the tri-state area and I have one vehicle. So what insurance? Geico? Great. Thank you, Geico, for being there when I needed you. And this idea that for me is so personal, but we are expecting it of our technology. And this is where we look even more into the future, this idea of voice. So when people are asked about the role of text search, I don't just mean like texting your friends, but like typing stuff in, and voice search, today's consumer or user thinks that they work well together, and they do. So 93% of people say that there's a role for both search and text. And 83% say that voice search will make things easier. I am part of that 83%. I love voice search. But it still needs to get better. So text search is second nature, and voice search is futuristic. What are you looking at here? This is a chart in which we surveyed regular users. How would you describe voice search? How would you describe text search? The light blue is voice search, and the dark blue is text search. So on the left, we see the words best describing voice search: futuristic, innovative, convenient. And on the right, we have text search: natural, necessary, traditional. None of these are bad words. They're all very complimentary. But it's two very different mindsets. I have a Google Home at home, no surprise. I love listening to my husband talk to it. And he says, I was trying to think of what he was searching for recently. And I will use this example because it's a little more applicable. Okay, Google, what are good kid activities in Hoboken this weekend? And Google Home's a little hit or miss, I'm gonna be honest. So sometimes she says to us, I can't help you with that right now. So what are good kid activities in Hoboken this weekend? I can't help you with that right now. His immediate response is, okay, Google, can you please tell me what good kid activities are in Hoboken this weekend? Thanks. He's just being more polite. He has not changed what he's asking. He's not changed any words he's using other than please and thank you, which is a good example for our son, but is not making Google Home any smarter. He doesn't expect to adapt. He expects the technology to adapt to him. So when you are sitting on that other side, how are you adapting your marketing to the user? Because users, we don't want to adapt. We want you to be there for us the way we expect you to answer us. Next, you need to be valuable. Are you being additive or are you being disruptive? And one we love and one we can't stand. So we look at this again in the eyes of the user, who's so important that we can really center our strategies around. Lauren, here's Lauren, she's lovely. Let me read about her from a demographic sense. She's a woman, she's 32 years old, she lives in New York. It's classic traditional media buying information. Thanks to digital, what do we know about Lauren? We know she loves to weekend in Vermont. She speaks multiple languages. She loves comedy on YouTube. This is a deeper Lauren. This is how we connect with her in a different way. This is how we can be additive, rather than just saying, here's your generic female marketing because you fit the demographic. You want to understand that audience on a deeper level, beyond just those demographics, beyond the transaction. What was their last purchase versus are they repeat buyers? Are they loyal? Are they drop-off? We know more now, and you can leverage that. Beyond the keyword. So sure, maybe Lauren typed in Airbnb Vermont, or maybe we know that she's been watching a lot of travel videos around Vermont. Maybe we're discovering more based on her digital profile. And I do use some video examples on purpose. So we've recently introduced, if you will, YouTube for Action. A lot of people think of YouTube and they think of it for branding and awareness, and that is not wrong. But for the first time, we are very successfully using YouTube for performance. So we talk about attention being earned and not forced. And this is apparent in search in a lot of ways. I'm asking a question, you are helping me by answering it. Thank you, I appreciate that. But I get annoyed when I open a website to read an article and then there is like a forced overlay and you're like, X, where's that X? They're hiding it. That's the difference between earned and forced. So using the case of Purple Mattress, which is kind of one of these up-and-coming brand new mattress companies, that's disrupting a very age-old space. They've been very successful in search, right? I've typed in new mattress for me, probably, because I want you to know that I prefer queen over king. Thank you, apartment living. But they're offering up this answer for me. But Purple Mattress isn't just stopping there. They're also offering sight, sound, and motion video ads. And they're doing one on Google.com and they're doing one on YouTube. Because if I know I want a mattress, I'm asking that question. But if I'm generally interested in purchasing a mattress, and maybe I've done a little bit of research, but I haven't gotten to it yet, they're able to reconnect with me through the power of sight, sound, and motion and help tell their story and their value proposition to me. So when we look at the power of creatives, on one side of the spectrum, we have performance. This is a search ad. On the other side, we have branding. This is a video ad. And that video might live online, might live on TV, Might live on social. That's online, I know. But it's the idea of sight, sound, and motion. I think we also have display ads. We also have out of stream video where it's more kind of interruptive. There's this spectrum that you can play in. What we're doing with YouTube for Action is connecting these more directly. So what we're able to do with new targeting is target someone with a video on YouTube based on the keywords they have searched on google.com. This is the first time these two have ever been connected. This is cool, and this is very exciting. Because that google.com search, you don't need to be an ad there. They don't need to click on your ad. They don't need to visit your site. You don't need to show up at all. But we know that they have searched for this keyword, and then you target that user on YouTube. So this can help in a lot of different ways. You got really expensive generic keywords that you wouldn't want to pay a very expensive cost per click on google.com. Guess right, they're real cheap on YouTube. Maybe a competitor that you couldn't afford to go after their terms, but you know that it's very close and you have a better value proposition. You can target the users who have searched for your competitor on YouTube. And again, it's twofold, because you know that they've searched, so that's powerful. And instead of just a compelling text ad, you use the power of sight, sound, and motion to really illustrate your value proposition. Stand out, earn that attention, don't force it. Next and last is to be quick. Every day, I read this slide. Every day we produce 2.5, basically, gajillion bytes of data. I actually tried to lay that out. This is 2.5 million gigabytes, which kind of wrap your head around. Or it's 2.5 exterabytes, which is not a phrase or term I was super familiar with. What this means is we produce a whole lot of data every day. There's so many signals and indicators that we're putting out there, because every time you take your phone out, you're putting another byte of data out there, right? How much time you're spending somewhere, the bookmarks and cookies that are getting dropped, the profiles you're putting up, you're just putting a lot out there. How the heck would you ever sort through this? Putting on a Google lens is we look at keyword bids, right? You used to be like, what are you going to pay for a click? We've gotten so much more sophisticated than that. Thank you, Google, for progressing over the last decade or two. So then we looked at device. You could bid not just on the keyword, but also on device, or time of day. Is your call center open or closed? How valuable is it? Based on certain locations. Then we got more sophisticated. What about your operating system? What about your conversion history? What about your demographics? Blah, blah, blah. You put all these things together, ultimately, Google has 7 million signals we can look at for every auction. How the heck are you going to process that? How the heck are you going to process 2.5 gajillion bytes of data? You can't. And that's why you lean on the machines. By leveraging the power of artificial intelligence and machine learning, those are the things that can sort through all of this in real time. And you can leverage that overwhelming amount of data rather than being drowned by it. So we think about headspace. What are we using? How much headspace are we using to do our jobs? Today and yesterday, hopefully we're moving a little more forward, but we spent a lot of time thinking about bidding, right? We can all kind of nod our heads and confess about that. What's the right bid? What are the indicators I want to look for of those, bullseye circles Regina just showed? What's the most important? You can spend too much time thinking about bidding. Maybe you should be spending a little more time about reporting or attribution, but these are more strategic things that, quite honestly, you can't always get to. Versus, if you leverage the power of automation, if you leverage the power of artificial intelligence, you can start to even this out. Use your headspace for bidding, but use more headspace for strategic planning, strategic thinking, planning for the future, staying abreast of your market, staying abreast of your competitors, looking at your bottom line. Not to say that bidding isn't important, it is, but we're fortunately at a point with technology that we can use a little help from the machines so that we can use our brains in a better headspace. We at Google see that by using smart bidding or automated bidding, by using proper audience targeting, and by using more sophisticated attribution, giving everyone credit where credit's really due. Everyone, I mean platforms or channels. When you combine those three things, we see a 27% increase in conversion volume. You're acting smarter. You're clearing that headspace so that you can be more strategic. And there's an inherent human bias of like, I think iOS is more valuable than Android. But is it? Do you have the data to say that confidently? Or can you rely on the artificial intelligence to determine whether or not that's more valuable? Because guess what? If you're using all 7 million signals properly, you're going to focus on the most valuable user rather than the most valuable time of day, location, operating system. There's too much there, and you want to bring it back to the user. So looking at pulling back a layer on this smart bidding, this idea of letting the machine do a little more work, we're seeing a 56% higher conversion rate from remarketing lists. So targeting those audiences and going after them with more tailored messaging. 67% higher conversion rate from customer match, using your own first-party data to target users who are valuable. You know them to be valuable. They're already your customers or your clients. We also see a 15% increase in conversion rate when using similar audiences. So looking at your first-party data and then building out lookalike audiences, people who look similar and targeting them because they're more likely to convert based on similar digital profiles. Again, all of this is making your marketing more effective and efficient. So let's recap that. What should we be thinking about? What should we be thinking about today to prepare us for tomorrow? That idea that the user is the centric idea that you need to focus on, but you can use technology to do that better. You want to be there. You want to be where they are, regardless of where that is. And by using technology, you can adapt your creative, you can adapt your platform, you can adapt your message. Be valuable. Be additive. Are you helpful or are you annoying? Because one is going to win you a lifetime customer, and the other, you're going to have a real quick loss. And again, be quick. People are more and more impatient, but they're also putting more and more out there. So how do you leverage that for your advantage? And how do you let technology help you be more efficient? So as we plan today to be more successful for tomorrow, keep those three things in mind.